Hey y'all, and welcome to my second fall TBR filled with books that I think are perfect for spooky season. Also perfect for spooky season is the current weather. It is very gloomy, it is very rainy, so the vibes are immaculate, but the lighting might be hit or miss, so just bear with me this afternoon. The last TBR was filled with books that just had that fall vibe or fall feeling for me, but this one is going to be filled with witches and monsters and hauntings, all things occult. And like maybe a couple of actual cults. Let's jump right in with some monsters. First up is the classic horror novella Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is told from the point of view of Dr. Jekyll's friend, who is an attorney. He is concerned about Jekyll's new affiliation with Mr. Hyde, a dangerous and disreputable character. Soon he realizes just how close Jekyll and Hyde really are. Next is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and this is my Harper Muse painted copy that I picked up while I was in Hungary. I'll take this off just to show you if you haven't seen it from that video. This is the cover. It is absolutely gorgeous, marvelous, marvelous. This is about young scientist Victor Frankenstein, who creates a sentient monster made out of the body parts from multiple corpses. Disgusted, Dr. Frankenstein abandons his own creation, which leads the monster to seek revenge in the most gruesome way. This is obviously a very famous classic, just like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and one that I haven't read yet, and I'm so looking forward to getting into it this season. Coming in with a more modern release and a newer acquisition for me is Eat the Ones You Love. This sounds so delightfully creepy and skin crawly. I cannot wait to read it. Shell has left her fiance, she's lost her job, and she's been forced to move back in with her parents outside of the city. One day while she's grocery shopping, she sees a help wanted sign in a florist shop and decides that that might just be the thing to cheer her up. Store manager Neve might also be a great way to cheer her up, but Neve has a deep, dark secret, a dangerous secret, and that is the sentient orchid living in the back of the shop that has a taste for human flesh. Ooh, it just sounds really good. I cannot wait. This is a must read for me. The first of a few anthologies that I have lined up is The Gathering Dark. This is edited by Tori Bovalino, and Tori does also contribute. There are several contributors to this book, but what really caught me was that this is described as like folk horror, folk tale horror, and that deeply appeals to me. There are also contributions by Allison Saft, Alex Brown, and Chloe Gong, just to name a few. I think this is going to be really great. I very much look forward to diving into these stories here and there throughout the season. Another highly anticipated anthology by me is Ancient Sorceries by Algernon Blackwood. Many of you probably know that I stumbled upon Algernon Blackwood through T. Kingfisher. After I read The Hollow Places and her note in the back of the book where she mentioned that Algernon Blackwood's The Willows was a huge inspiration for that story, I immediately read The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, and it led me down the rabbit hole of his weird fiction. This is the Penguin Weird Fiction edition. I have, I think, 2 of these now, and I got this from Waterstones, I believe, or Blackwell's, but it did not come from America. So like I said, this is also an anthology. It actually follows character John Science, who's a doctor, but he sort of disappears for many years and comes back as England's greatest occult detective. And this is just a collection of stories that center him. It's like Hercule Poirot, but make it weird horror. I believe this is my final anthology, and this is Ghosts by Edith Wharton. You might know Edith Wharton from The Age of Innocence. She grew up in New York's aristocracy during the Gilded Age, and so she was able to really accurately portray life during that time. And a lot of her novels centered around life in the Gilded Age and that sort of peek behind the curtain and people's motivations and things like that. But what a lot of people don't know is that she wrote some very uncanny tales. And before she died, she handpicked the stories to go into this edition, and she wrote the foreword. This collection of supernatural tales is described as mysterious and coolly menacing. It sounds right up my street. First up in my haunted house paranormal sort of section is Horrorstor by Grady Hendrix. This book centers what I'm imagining to be a sort of discount IKEA set in Ohio. The employees are noticing some abnormalities. When they come in the morning, furniture is broken, things are not as they should be, and the security cameras offer no answers. So one night, a group of, I think it's 3 employees, decide to stay from dawn to dusk to see what is happening, and just horrors abound. It sounds really great. I have a few friends in book club who have read this, and they say it's a little over the top, it's a little kitsch, but Honestly, that sounds kind of perfect. Another sort of haunted house is The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcey Coates. Darcey is a completely new author to me, but this sounds so interesting. So everybody knows about Ashburn House. Everybody has heard the rumors. The former owner went mad. It's haunted by ghosts. But to Adrian, who is desperate, inheriting this crumbling mansion is a lifeline. That's the only way she can see it, until, of course, it gets dark and strange things start happening, paranormal anomalies, if you will. There are strange writings on the walls, furniture is moving on its own accord, and eventually Adrian can't deny what's going on, that there is a very powerful and menacing presence in the home. Unfortunately for Darcey, she doesn't know how to combat it, and she doesn't know how to get out alive. I kind of like how this is described. I like that it's very open-ended, and it sounds like a good time. I do think that this is not quite as scary as you might think it is too. I want to say that's what I've heard about her horror specifically, but we shall see. It is yet to be determined. From now, I have some supernatural and witchy oddities, locked door mysteries, maybe a little bit of murder. I think we're done with the proper ghosts and monsters for now, but what we're not done with is atmospheric Appalachian Gothic horror. I cannot seem to get away from this genre, and The Bog Wife is no exception. This book is about the Hattersley siblings who live in West Virginia, and as long as anyone knows, they have managed the cranberry bog, and in return, the bog sustains them. How does it do that, you may ask? They sacrifice their patriarch, and in return, the bog gives them a bog wife to carry on the family. It sounds really weird, and I've read it so many times, and I'm like, that can't be right. I have to be misunderstanding something here, right? Well, it seems like the bog is not holding up its end of the bargain, and so all of these 5 siblings have to come together. The problem is they all have different ideas about how to solve this problem, and I think it's going to tear them apart more than it will pull them together. It sounds very odd. Sounds very, again, atmospheric, very possessed almost, and I am so looking forward to it. Plus, the cover is just really something beautiful to behold. A little culty, a little maybe haunted, but mostly paranormal, and again, quite possibly possessed. I have Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. This is about Vesper, and when Vesper left her very strictly religious compound as an 18-year-old, she was told there is no way back if you leave. Then she receives a wedding invitation from her very beloved cousin, Rosie, and the wedding is going to be on the family farm. Vesper's not sure if this is an olive branch or an exception to the rule, or perhaps a trap. Vesper's return home seems to awaken a sinister secret within the family, and she is forced to reckon with her own crisis of faith and her family's beliefs. It is described as sinister and a love letter to horror. Sounds pretty good to me. I have liked other things that Rachel has written in the past. Some hit, some kind of, I don't want to say a miss because I have enjoyed them, but just not out of this world. So I don't know, I'm looking forward to this. I think it sounds quite fun. I'm a little disappointed in myself, but this might be my one and only witchy book, and that is Slewfoot by Brom. I've had this for almost a year. I am so looking forward to reading it, but I refuse to read it outside of this season because I just think that would be doing it a disservice. Also, putting the description in my own words seemed like a disservice when the blurb on the back is actually so nice. So I would like to read that to you, and then I'm going to show you some of my favorite things from the inside of this weird book. It says, set in colonial New England, Slewfoot is a tale of magic and mystery, of triumph and terror from acclaimed author and artist Brom. An ancient spirit awakens in a dark wood. The wild folk call him father, slayer, protector. The colonists call him Slewfoot, demon, devil. To Abatha, a recently widowed outcast, alone and vulnerable in her pious village, he's the only one she can turn to for help. Together, they ignite a battle between pagan and Puritan, one that threatens to destroy the entire village, leaving nothing but ashes and bloodshed in its wake. Oh, it sounds so good. The cover is so weird. Look at this girl on her broom with her hoof feet. Then, inside, okay, there's Abatha. She looks super normal. Cool girl. Nothing weird. But then you have this baby coming out of a fish and like this weird rat creature person. Slewfoot himself is very odd. And then my favorite, but also least favorite because it's so horrifying, is this face on the back of the book. Like, ooh, look, can I make him half of my face? It's so creepy. It sounds so good. I think this is probably a pretty quick read as well. It looks big, the format is quite large and square, but the font is also quite large. And we have the pictures on the inside. Oh, I just think this is going to be so good. I think this is absolute spooky season perfection. I've heard not a one bad thing about this book, and I just cannot wait for it to be my time to read it. We are going to make it happen this year. Ooh, a couple of murder mysteries coming up next, and first is The Streaks of Murder. Set in 1888 Edinburgh, a violinist is found dead in his home, murdered in a locked room. What happened? His maid swears she heard 3 musicians playing in the night, but how could that be when he's found alone? The mystery begins. We have an inspector that comes up from Scotland Yard, but he is set to work with Detective McCrae. And McCrae has a past that makes him a little more open to the occult, which he thinks might be at play here. After a while, even Frey, our new inspector, has to admit that something supernatural seems to be going on. Another murder mystery set in Scotland is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I've had this one for a little while as well, and I do like most of what I've read from Lucy, I have to say. This is about 9 Oxford friends who pick a remote lodge in the Scottish Highlands for their annual New Year's Eve holiday. Most of these people have been friends for over 10 years, but tensions seem to run high on this trip. A historic blizzard traps them all in, and by New Year's Day, one of them will end up murdered. I think this sounds so good. I don't want to know much more than that. I like a very thin description when I'm getting into a mystery or any sort of like thriller. I want to know as little as possible so I can make my own theories as I read. Part murder mystery, part cult, part occult, part end of the world. I don't know. Little Eve by Catriona Ward. This is set on an island off the coast of, you guessed it, Scotland. I did not realize until this moment that these are all set in Scotland. So I'm sorry, but also I'm not sorry, because what's more atmospheric than like Scotland in a horror? So what's going on here is there is this like clan in the early 1900s on this island who are trying to bring about the end of the world, and they are waiting for the rebirth, which I think involves an adder appearing. If you don't know, an adder is a type of snake. So I don't know what kind of big freaking snake they're waiting for, but that does not sound like a start to a new world that I want to be a part of. During one of these rituals, someone is killed. So enter Inspector Black coming to the island, and he's going to dig up all of their weird occult, cult secrets. And I think it sounds so good. I love the cover. I love this sort of, I've talked about this when I hauled it, this duality where it looks like almost alternate realities here. The top one is very ripply, so it looks like the top is maybe the reflection. I don't know. It looks good. I read The Last House on Needless Street by this author, and I loved that book. It kept me guessing till the very end. I really thought I had it all figured out. I did not. So I cannot wait to read this. Last but certainly not least is Graveyard Shift by ML Rio. I've had this for quite a while too, but I really wanted to save it to read during like this spooky season. This is a novella. It's quite small, and it is about, I think, 5 people who either have night jobs or work late in a library. For whatever reason, they're out in the middle of the night, and they tend to cross paths in this graveyard. One night they stumble upon like an open grave, and it shouldn't be there. They find the person who dug the grave and decide to follow him, and then I don't know what happens after that. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews, and I sometimes get caught up in the reviews, but I really try not to, because a lot of my favorite books, as you well know, have some harsh ratings, and I'm gonna try to just make my own decision. I think it sounds good. The cover for me is another one that is very, very appealing. This is very reminiscent of What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, the mushrooms, the mouse. Like I'm into the mushroom game, okay? I'm into it. It's a novella, it'll be a good time. All right, that's it for this spooky season TBR. If you have any witchy recommendations, do you mind leaving them below? I'm a little disappointed in myself that I don't have more on this TBR, and I need to rectify that. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.